Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here today. With me today is PJ Reilly. Now, PJ and I connected several months ago when I was on his podcast, the Land Life podcast. That is the Land Life podcast. And if you can't tell from the name, he's in the dirt game. Currently, he is working on large land deals and removing himself from the day-to-day operations of his business altogether. And he's doing that using VAs and automation to make that happen. He's originally from Barbados by way of growing up in the military. And that's as far as I'm going to tell you in the story because let's get into it. He's going to bring the heat. His energy is absolutely incredible. PJ, welcome to the show.
Darrell, thank you so much for having me on, man. I'm excited. Our podcast, when you were on my podcast, it was like the most popular podcast that I've ever had. So, and I'm not saying this just to blow smoke. People were contacting me. And so they were like, wow, that was a really good show. You know, who's this guy? And so I started, when people ask me, do I have a podcast? I only give them that episode. And if you're listening, it's Land Life episode 69. So if you go to YouTube, find it. And you got this guy's face. He had a little bit more facial hair back then. But yeah, I'll give them that particular episode because it turned out so good.
PJ, man, I'm super humble, man. First of all, and we talked about this offline before we started this. Whenever I get an opportunity, I'm so grateful by the opportunity of you holding the space. We're both podcasters, but at the end of the day, I never show up without wanting to bring the heat for the audience, meaning bring everything I got. And so I appreciate your comments on that. And you did, in fact, mention that episode to someone, and they reached out to me, and we've had a meeting, and there may be some collaboration. So
Yeah.
I just appreciate that energy in and of itself because it just continues to remind me of how many of us are truly abundant minded thinkers, right? And the fact is, you gave me an opportunity to bring the heat on your show, and I'm now going to tee you up because you have a fascinating. Yeah, you like to say you have a boring story, but why don't you introduce yourself to the group and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of boring in the business that I'm in, but so let's do the story. Let's go all the way back and kind of catch us up to where we're at now, I guess. So I was born in Barbados. My dad was in the Navy, so we lived all over the world. We bounced all over different countries. We'd live there for maybe a year, 2 years at a time, and then we'd move on to a new place, and then we'd live there for a little while, move on to a new place. Landed in Denver, where I went to high school and college in Colorado. I need to make this very clear. I was on the dean's list in both high school and in college. What do you think I'm saying? What are you laughing at? I was on the dean's list. Okay, now here's.
You said, let me make it clear. I was on the dean's list. And then you went to explain it. All right.
The dean has two lists. The dean has two lists. Oh, yeah. So the dean has two lists. There's a list of all those guys that are graduating cum laude, and they wear all the tassels and all that kind of stuff. He's got another list, and it's the list where he's gonna ask that group of people, that specific group of individuals, to possibly think about not coming back next semester. So I was on that list. Now I'll be honest, I was at the top of that list, so I was just barely at the cusp. So I got to come back, and I did eventually graduate high school and college with a 2.0 GPA. So I did get out. I stuck it out. My wife says I should be a doctor with the amount of years I was in college because I did go to college for a long time. It was fun. We had a lot of good times. So anyway, got out of college with a 2.0.
I told y'all he was going to bring the heat. I tell you, this cat's energy is something else. I didn't even know that story. That's funny. That's funny. Go ahead. 2.0.
Yeah, 2.0 GPA. So I was not. It wasn't like any of these big financial companies were contacting me fresh out of college. Like there was no headhunters at my graduation. My parents showed up. They're like, "All right, can we go now?" And I had to get back to work. I think I was working at Domino's at the time. Honestly,
I gotta change the name of the show. The show is no longer called the MindShift podcast. It's the comedy podcast. You are hilarious, dude.
Yes, it's a mind shift towards comedy.
That's right. Anyway, Domino's.
Domino's. So I was looking at Domino's. But anyway, when I get out of college, I'm like, I had the regular date. I had regular jobs, right? I got hired in all kinds of government type work, I guess. But I always had something else I wanted to do, right? I always had like this entrepreneurial mindset. So I tried a ton of different things. I tried selling insurance, personal training. I was a professional fighter for a long time. Gosh, what did we try? We tried this. There was this company. So check this out. This is kind of an interesting story. A buddy of mine, I'm at the gym working out. A buddy of mine says, I got arrested this weekend. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I got arrested. I got pulled over for speeding. And they said, you have a warrant. I'm like, well, all right. That's pretty much what you get arrested for when you have a warrant. And so he's like, yeah, it's terrible though. Because what had happened, I'll give a little backstory. He got pulled over previously. He had a ticket. He didn't pay it, right? So they put out a warrant for his arrest. So he goes in there and he gets arrested. He's got to stay all night in a jail. And this guy's he's not really jail material, let's just say. He didn't like it at all. He was like, he's used to being kind of taken care of, catered to type deal. So he's like, we got to fix this. So we concocted this idea where we would put credit card readers for your speeding ticket into a police car. Okay. Now we had all the big vendors involved, and a lot of big banks that exist now that you've heard of were on board. So we really worked it. I mean, we were calling people all day, all night. There's a reason we're not talking about my awesome credit card business in police cars, because no police department wants their police officers being cashiers. So we had one side of the business, the people saying, the banks and all these different vendors saying, great idea. If you can make this work, we're in. So they were giving us free credit card readers and all the free materials. We didn't even have software. We had nothing. We had an idea in our head and we sold it, and it worked. It worked on one side. Police departments were like, no, never. This is insane. These guys got enough to deal with. And honestly, police officers have so much to deal with. They do not want to be running dudes' credit cards, and then it gets declined, and they got to come back. Sorry, your card declined. Oh, hold on, just deal with all these issues. So that business did not work out. Yeah.
So the idea was to make sure that your buddy and other people who made a mistake and didn't pay their ticket can avoid getting the warrant. So it was a consumer-friendly idea, but you didn't realize it was going to be taxing so you wanted the police officers to go ahead and run the ticket price at the scene. Oh, that's interesting concept. Yeah, but that's creative. That's actually creative.
Yeah, so we had a good idea. The idea was there. We thought maybe it might work. It didn't. But I just told the dude to start paying your tickets. I mean, you should probably start paying your tickets. So
if you're not watching on YouTube, I can't stand it. I'm just dying with this guy. He says, "Well, I guess the better idea is you should just start paying your tickets."
It's probably the best option. I mean,
tried to help you, but it didn't work out. But so pay your tickets.
So from now on, guys, I'm sorry. I did my part. It's not on me when you get a ticket and you get thrown in jail. It's not me. I tried.
Good. This is I love the way you tell stories, man. There's so much illumination in your character, man. And that's what I got when we were connected the first time, man. I'm sorry. Let's go. So the credit card swiping machine in the police cars is out.
Yeah. So that didn't work. So I have a regular job. I'm still going back. I'm talking to a guy at work one day, and he's like, you're an entrepreneur. You should go buy houses in Detroit. And this is probably like 8-9 years ago, right? So you got to go buy houses in Detroit. You can buy a house there for $1. And I was like, well, good news. That's about how much money I have, so I can go buy a house. But no, actually, I had about $1,100 that I had saved up, and for me back then, that was kind of a lot. I mean, I was doing direct sales, basically selling vitamins door to door, and so I was like, all right, let's maybe I can do that. So I go to the place that everybody goes to when they want to start a business or learn how to do something, right? They go to YouTube University, right? So I popped on YouTube. I start researching, and it turns out it's a terrible idea. Buying a house in any, $1 house. First of all, if you can get it for $1, you put the refrigerator, you put all the copper wire in, that thing is gutted by midnight. So just a terrible idea all around. Now, during the course of my research, I saw a guy talking about buying and selling land. And I was like, dude, I could totally do that. So I get about, kind of like most entrepreneurs, I'm kind of like ready, aim, fire. I get about halfway through this guy's video, probably didn't pay attention to the most of it. I just thought I saw the idea, and I go to Zillow really quick. And I find a guy, and he's selling 2 properties just about 2 hours south of me. Each one is about $1,100, right? These are really small, really no access, little desert squares, about a quarter-acre squares. So I'm like, okay, I have $1,100. He said each of them are $1,100. Now I've made it about halfway through this guy's video about land on YouTube, right? I know enough that I got to lowball this dude. I got to lowball the seller. I know just enough to do that. So I tell the dude, hey, you said $1,100 for each property. What about $1,100 for both properties? And the guy's like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, now, dude, I've only got halfway through this video. I have no idea where to go from there. So not a clue what to say. And I'm like, all right, man. So what do we do from here? What do we do now? And he's like, well, I'll take care of it. I'll do the deed. Just send me a check for $1,100, and we're good. And I'll take care of it. And at that, and I was like, I don't know if I want to send some random guy $1,100, but I was like, whatever, let's take a chance. So send the guy a check for $1,100. He gets the deeds recorded. I think I sold them about 2 weeks later for like $1,500 each. So, I mean, almost 3 times my money on those 2 deals. Yeah, man, that started the dirt machine, and I just started buying and selling. I mean, I finished the video. I did go back and finish the guy's video.
Oh, God. It's interesting. Before you go back to the video, because I thought that there's so many little real nuggets in there that I want to make sure we don't skip by. There are a lot of people that wait until they've got all the information. They don't just watch that YouTube video. They watch 300 YouTube videos and still don't do anything. They don't even take the step to look at Zillow. In addition to that, they see the property 2 hours down the way and they're like, let me go buy this course, right? So that I can get the A to Z. And so let me be clear when I say this. I'm not advocating haphazard and reckless behavior. But what I heard you say was, I got enough of this part of the video. Let me just see what's available. It happened to be that there was some property available with the amount of money that you had. And we all know, well, most of us know, that it isn't always who knows the most. It's who acts on what they know, who actually, like, you'll figure the rest of the part of it out. Then you also questioned, I don't know, do I send this guy? I don't even know him. 1,100 pounds. I mean, $1,100, and it's all you got. Right. So, but you took a leap of faith and you're like, you assessed the risk, which is what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm going to lose $1,100. You're not going to die. Right. You're not going to, right. So I love that you scooted right by some of these points, but I think they needed to be illuminated. And I just love the fact that you did in fact go back to the YouTube video. All right, let's pick it up from there.
So I had to finish the guy's video because I didn't know kind of where to go from there. So I finished it, and I then went back and watched more of that guy's videos. He had a ton of stuff back then, and there wasn't a lot of information for land. There just wasn't. It didn't exist. You could find information about housing, apartments, commercial, all that kind of stuff, but there wasn't a ton of information for land 8 years ago. Now, there's a lot. You can find a ton of information on YouTube about land investing. So from there though, I really just kept going, just multiplying little by little by little by little. And now, I mean, over the course of the last 8 years, I've probably done like 500 deals. Now they're significant. Yeah, about 500 deals. They're significantly higher than the 500 and some for 1,500. They're quite a bit bigger, but I'm trying to see how many I can do each year, and kind of, it's like a snowball, right? It's rolling into bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger deals. So I start out, but hell, if anybody can start out at $500, right? Anybody can start out with $500, contact a guy in Zillow, and get your business started that way. And you can be, and you're a real estate investor right there. You're in, you know, you're instantly there right away. Game starts and you're part of the team now.
Okay, man. Whew. Man, I got about 35 questions. I don't think I got time for all 35. But again, I just think that while it cut to the chase, you essentially made a case in point for what I call excuse-itis, right? You didn't have a clue what you were doing. You got a tad bit of information and you're just like, let's just get into this thing and see what I can do. Plus, you were also looking for something.
Yeah.
What was it that you were looking for? Like, aside from land, you weren't looking for land, you were searching for something. Let's talk about that headspace. We are on the MindShift podcast, but let's talk about your headspace. What was unsettling about where you were in your career or your life or economics that had you so restless? Because I'm hearing not a restlessness in a negative way, but a restlessness to find, I don't want to call it a calling, but a purpose, but for sure a path that would light you up because you're lit right now, man.
Yeah, it's purpose. Definitely purpose. I mean, purpose, it brings along with it money, right? That's a big thing. We were broke. We had no money. We had every single month ends, you're at zeros. Every single month ends, you look at that bank account, you're like, all right, well, we got nothing left. Got to start over again. This month is new. There was no extra cash. Now we do a crazy amount of things. We go on vacation constantly. We do the family. I mean, I have 3 daughters and a wife. We don't really hurt for money at all anymore. Those days are gone. But I mean, it was even more than that. It was a purpose. Previous to the business thing, I'd been a professional athlete. I was that was a big thing. That was kind of who I was. Once that ended, it just ends. There's nobody there. The people that were part of that are gone. They don't come with you. Now you're just a dude that maybe has a few less brain cells, and you can work out a little bit more better than other people, but that's about it. So I was looking for purpose, and I kind of wish I would have looked to a financial option when I was younger, maybe like another business option or the land business. I would have found that younger. But I mean, things come when they come, I guess. But I guess to answer your question, it was definitely purpose. No question about it. I was looking for something to be. I had a wife and 3 kids, and I had to lead them somehow. And it wasn't going to be a professional athlete anymore. There's no fighting. There's no the jobs I was getting weren't like they weren't breaking the bank. Let's just say. So I needed to do something to lead the way.
I love that. That last statement in and of itself, I had to find a way to lead. That's crazy, man. So, what kind of fighting did you do? Was it? I watch MMA all the time, but was it MMA? Was it boxing? What kind of fighting?
Yeah, so boxing, kickboxing, jujitsu. I used to work for Chuck Norris. There was this TV show called the World Combat League, and I was on that. I fought a lot of kickboxing matches, a lot of Muay Thai matches. Probably like 50 fights total. Anywhere between like local bar fights where it would be like, they put up a ring in a bar and, you'd be on the show there, and all the way to NBC Sports. So, it was a big, long time frame there, and it was good. I did okay, but it wasn't like kickboxing isn't like boxing, and it's not like MMA or anything like that, where you have where the winners are making tens of millions of dollars. You're making a few grand even if you win.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about going to bar fights and stuff like that. I mean, my first mind went to, you were just in there acting a fool and roughing people up. You said there was a ring inside the bar. I'm like, I ain't never been to no bar in Vegas with no ring in it. But if that's what you say happened, PJ, we'll go ahead and let you stick to that story.
Where? I swear. Well, at least by that point in the night, I saw a ring. And when I looked, I was like, hey, the guy across the room and me.
And we're going to get after it, So anyway. Good stuff, man. No, so I guess, there was a pivot point. There was a moment of inflection in your life where you said your identity had been caught up in the fighting. And that's the way a lot of us go. Like, I can think back to when I was in the real estate and lending industry, which I think, you might have remembered from our conversation, but for 17 years. And when I decided that I didn't want that to be my thing anymore, I struggled for a little while thinking about my identity being tied up in that. Is this all that I am? You know, and so yeah, it does take some things to work through on that. But man, that's pretty crazy. So so you're so tell everyone about land who doesn't know about land from an investment standpoint, right? You look around, to your point, even now, this many years later since you've been in it, I don't come across many land investors. I don't come across many people talking about it. And then you're talking about doing 500 deals. Please, I am all ears. Uh, what are we missing in the opportunity of land investing?
Yeah, so land's great, man, because just think about it. There's no tenants, there's no toilets, there's no trash. I guess there could be trash. But there's no, I mean, there's so many less things to worry about, right? So when I go to look at a piece of land, I want to see that it's there. You know, I want to look at a map. I want to see a square, maybe road access, maybe a couple trees. It doesn't require a lot. I don't have to be there even to buy the land. I almost never go to a property before I buy it. I mean, almost never. Actually, I have literally never been to a property prior to buying it in over 500 deals. Now, afterwards, sometimes I'll go and check it out. And it's kind of cool to see your land that you own. You know, I love stepping foot on it. If it's close enough, I'll go. It's kind of nice, but land is it's the simplicity of land that I really think sticks out from other forms of real estate. I don't have to go in and make sure the toilets are flushing. I don't have to go inspect the roof, right? There, if it's a commercial, like versus commercial deals, I don't have to have a working business inside that building, right? It's just a square of dirt, right? Percentage wise, though, the returns are phenomenal. I don't do less than 300% return. So 300% is so let's I'll kind of go back a little bit. There's when I bought a property, there's two ways I'll exit the property typically. I will either sell it on owner financing. So I'll sell it to the end buyer and I'll say, you know, I'll go to this guy and say, hey, property's $50,000, let's say. I understand you don't have $50,000 cash, but what about 500 bucks a month? Would that work? Would that be good for you? Oh yeah, that's perfect. We can do that. I'll do that 10 times out of 10. I mean, that's a great way of doing it. I can also sell for cash. Now, what I like to do is double my money on cash and triple on terms. So let's say I buy the property for for 10,000 bucks. I want to sell it for 20 for cash. So a quick cash flip. Title company usually does all the work there, or triple my money on terms. Does that make sense? Okay.
I'd imagine even on terms, are you holding it in escrow when under terms, or they're paying you directly? Got it.
No, if I sell on terms, there is no. It's basically it's sort of a handshake deal. It's a land contract, but none of that is recorded through the county. It is all a deal between them and me.
And you're still on title until they finish the terms. So you keep the tax benefits if there are any. Speaking of which, I want to ask about that just because I want to let this be an educational. For me, again, I mean, I spent a lot of years in real estate, didn't touch land one time, so I'm learning as we're going through this conversation. So I love it. So two x on cash, 3x on terms. Seller financing certainly huge. It was huge back in the real estate days when I first started. Of course,
Yeah.
low cost to borrow in the last decade and a half has made that kind of a maybe not decade and a half, but for sure decade has made that kind of go away. But of course, now with rates at 7% and with FHAs being assumable with qualifying, you might be interested. It'd be very interesting to see what happens here going forward with people who have 3% mortgages and current rates are 7. I think there's a ripe opportunity for some of that to go on. Oh man, a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
You've got this piece of property. You're turning them. Are you turning properties super fast all the time? Or are you looking to turn it fast? Are you always trying to buy it at a discount and turn it quickly? Is that sort of is that your model? Okay. Okay. So when I used to buy houses, we would have to go get it at a discount and then have to do all the things you said, which is rebuild the walls, replace the fireplace, change the cabinets, da 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 da. And by 3 months later, we were turning it over for a profit. But you're not. You're getting something at a discount, and you're liquidating it relatively quickly.
Sometimes as quick as 20 minutes. When I bought a property, yeah. So I'll get the property. I will. Let's say it's a mail-in, mail-back deed, right? So I've mailed out my paperwork to the county. They've recorded it and sent it back to me. There's definitely been times where I go to the PO box, pick up that deed, I look at it. Okay, I own this property now. I go home, build an ad, and it's sold in 20 minutes. Sometimes it's super fast.
So okay, what am I missing then? What is the demand for these properties? First of all, how are you finding you're finding a motivated seller, but yet you're finding a motivated seller, but at the same time a motivated buyer? Talk me through that.
Yeah. So to buy a property, I send out about 10,000 letters a month. So, for example, what county do you live in?
Clark County.
Okay, well, I'll type in. We have a data source, right? It has every single property in the whole country. Sorry, I'll say Clark County, Nevada, 4 to 6 acres, not corporate owned, right? It'll kick back this huge list of properties. I will mail to every single one of those owners an offer. So let's say I'll pay you $40,000 for your property, right? 99% of those people have no interest in selling at my lower than retail offer. A small percentage will say yes. So I will get back to those people and I'll contact the people that responded to me and says, yes, I would like to sell my property. I'll let them know how it works. I'll buy the property and then I will personally sell it myself. A lot of times we'll use title companies though too. So title companies make things easier. If it's a low enough price property, I'm just buying it myself. Mm-hmm. So that's the purchase side.
Right. But the sell side. So let's talk about the sell side. I get the purchase side. I love the strategy. Like go into the database. I mean, it was the same way we used to find refinance and distressed properties. So the acquisition part, I think it makes sense to me. How are you then finding the motivated buyers on the other side? Are you doing the same thing? Are you mailing the people that you just mailed and said, hey, I've got this property and I'm willing to let it go at this?
just double the offer, right? The sale price. No, I mean I could. That makes a lot of sense now. I'm kind of thinking I may have screwed up, but no. So
we're here for a reason, If I can help out.
Counseling for me. I'm laying on the couch right now listening. Like, yeah, I guess I did it wrong.
I guess, again, when you only do certain things and you drive by in your mind's eye, I can drive by. Obviously, I'm not in Denver. I'm not in probably many of these places where you've bought property. But when I drive through my area where I live, I see signs up for weeks and months. Like land doesn't seem to be moving. Now, our area, like Denver, prices are way up there and different demographic, different economic. But I guess I'm puzzled on where these motivated buyers are to buy these parcels. And are these commercial parcels? Are these warehouse parcels? Are they zoned for what? What are they? What are these types of parcels? Are they already zoned for use, or do they need to be?
Buy rural residential properties. So, yeah, rural residential mostly, because you can camp, hunt, pull up an RV, build. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. And I do see those. I see those signs as well here in Denver. It's really think about where you're going, where your price point is too. So you're probably looking at properties that are million plus properties, right?
You're right.
So if I were talking to somebody new in real estate, I would say, cool, let those guys have those properties. They take years to sell. Let them play in that game, in that sandbox, right? I play kind of somewhere in the middle. So I typically buy properties anywhere between $5 and, let's say $100,000. Okay. So these lower priced properties, when I acquire these things, I jump on Facebook Marketplace. And that is where I find almost all of my terms buyers.
Whoa. Back up. Facebook Marketplace. What do you do on Facebook Marketplace?
I just sell dirt. No, absolutely. So what you do is you go on there, and I do a lot in Middle America, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, that kind of area. And I'll just go on Facebook Marketplace, pop an ad in there with a zip code, um, you will be overwhelmed with the amount of people who want to buy land.
Wow. Facebook. Okay. PJ, I knew this was going to be fascinating, but damn, dude, okay. Go.
There's a reason for this. You live in Vegas, right? I pull up. We're going to a nightclub, right? I pull up in a Ferrari. Everybody's like, "Wow, he's a baller. That guy's big time, right?" Me and you pull up in a nice Ferrari. Everyone's like, "Whoa, these guys, they're big time." In let's just find. I'm trying to think of a good town. In Wilburton, Oklahoma, if you pulled up in that same Ferrari, you're getting your ass kicked. You pull up to the Elks Club, which is the big spot in town, right? In a Ferrari, they're probably going to kick your ass. Now, here's the difference. We pull up in our pickup. We're going to say we have a pickup. We go in there and we talk about the 100 acres we own in the best part of town where everybody loves to go hunting and fishing. Now we're the big baller, right? It's a status symbol in a different part of the country.
Yes, got it.
You need to find, I take that area and find out what their thing is. It's land. They love hunting, fishing, camping, being in the outdoors. That's a lot of America, you know? So whereas in Vegas, I go to that same place and tell people I have 100 acres in Oklahoma, they're going to be like, get out of here, hillbilly, right? But out there, it's a status symbol. So it's once you post something like that on Facebook Marketplace, if they can afford it, they're buying it. And at $200, $300, $500 a month, they can all afford it.
Oh, PJ, gosh, I love this because when I think about what we do in marketing, and I'm always advising companies, the first thing we do is spend time making sure we understand the buyer demographics and psychographics. You just nailed why it works because you know your buyer demographics and psychographics. You said it's like, oh, that's fascinating. Hey, if you're listening to this right now, you've ever been a part of one of my classes or listened to the episode, the Lean Growth Method or Lean Marketing Plan, you just listen to PJ articulate the number one step that we always talk about, which is find the one buyer and find out what their triggering event is. What is their motivation for wanting to solve that problem? And PJ, you did a brilliant job. How did you get to, was it just natural that you thought about land in the Midwest for that demographic, or was there sort of a tie that you had personally and you sort of knew what their motivations were prior?
Yeah. So initially I stuck with Colorado, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. I just was like, okay, I got lucky with those Zillow deals. I kept mailing to that same area. And I was like, well, maybe they'll keep selling me their properties, and they did. So I stuck to that. And I kind of moved around Colorado, Wyoming. And then all of a sudden some guy says, hey, you ever thought about buying land in the Oklahoma mountains? And I'm like, the Oklahoma mountains? They don't have mountains out there, dude. And he's like, oh no, they do. And they love it out there. And so really? So I started mailing to that area, and it was a tidal wave of offers accepted. And I think people have kind of caught on to what I did because now I look at Facebook and people buy in the same areas that I was buying in. But out there, almost all my deals are in that area of the country now.
That is amazing. I mean, you found your niche, you found your geo, you found your buyer, you found their psychographics, their triggering events, you found your price point, you found your own business model in it. Do this like a master class in marketing, and we're talking about land. What's the biggest parcel size that you've bought and sold? Not that it matters because you didn't touch it, but
80. I think the biggest one I ever had was 80 acres. Yeah. Yeah. So I stick to usually they're 5 to 80, something like that.
And you don't see most of these.
I don't see any of them. Yeah. Almost none of them. I'll see. In Colorado, I will go to properties sometimes if they're in the mountains, like nice areas in our mountains. Dude, it's beautiful. It's unbelievable. So I'll go up there. Um, I went up there. Gosh, what was it like? Last year, I went to a property. I saw it. I was like, dude, this is nice. So I'm like, I'm gonna go check it out. And so I pull up my truck. I get out. First of all, there's a mobile home on my property, and dude, this is like in the middle of nowhere, kind of. So I did not go knock on the door. Can you please leave? Because they probably would have shot me, right? So I kind of walked past it, and I climb. It's like a 5-acre mountain, basically. So it's like straight up the side of this hill. And I'm like, I bet the view up on that hill is great. So I get up there, and there's mountain lions, bears. We got a lot of stuff out here, right? So it's like, it's not like the sheriff or the police are going to come save you. No one's coming. They'll find your bones in 6 months. So you got to avoid the people and the animals, right? So I'm working, and I carry all the time. So I got my pistol actually out while I'm walking up this hill, because it is, and it's a switchback. So you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you can't really see a lion. You just can't see them. They're all over the place. So anyway, I get to a certain point, and there's a pile of bones just sitting there, and I'm like, this is where a lion takes their kill and eats it. This is their kitchen. So I see it, and I'm like, and I still wanted to make it to the top. So I kind of like, I kept looking around. I was like, okay, I'm going to make a lot of noise. And I start yelling. You would have thought like a crazy person was up on this hill. Some crazy guy yelling, waving a gun, like, ah. So I get to the top, beautiful view, get all the way to the bottom, and I never went back.
What's the, there must be some survival thing there. What's the lesson of making all that noise? You weren't trying to get them to, what was the point of making all the noise? Scare them away.
Lions and the bears off. Bears will typically run away. A mountain lion will probably just follow me the whole time and eat me when I'm not looking.
Gotcha. Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, bear, well, you typically, hopefully, that's the idea, is they'll run away if you're noisy and loud, and they can hear you from far away, and they're like, they just start walking the other direction. I don't think there's any moose in that area, but they would do the same thing typically. The lions, though, they might follow you even if they're noisy. So I had to have that gun out the whole time.
Wow, man, that's bold, but bold move, but you know your territory, so good on you. Do you? Right. You said that's right. I forgot that part of the story, because you're like, if I go knock on, he's on my property. He's not supposed to be here, but I bet I'm not going to go knock on that door because he'd probably blow my head off. But let me go up here and mess with these tigers, lions, and bears. Right?
It's like The Hills Have Eyes, the movie.
That's hilarious. Okay, I gotta get into it for some of the listening audience, just because they've got to be asking. Number one, you don't have to have a real estate license to do this investing. Yeah, right. You buy in like 7 or did I see on your website you buy in like 7 different states right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy anywhere. It's usually like 10 or maybe more states. But yeah, a ton of different places. And no, I do not have a license in any of those states. You don't need one, though.
Got it. Yeah, so that's good news for somebody, right? Someone who is thinking about this. Do you teach people how to do this? I never asked you, but do you have a program? Do you teach people how to do this, or you just you're doing your own thing?
Yeah, I had a course. It was more of I built one just because so many people would ask, hey, can you help me? And then it would be, I would help them. And then a week later, they'd ask the same question. And then a month later, they'd ask the same question. I'm like, hey, just refer back to our previous talk and you'll get it. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to build a course. And it was really affordable. It just didn't, it was more of a hassle than anything, honestly. At this point, I'll probably end up putting it on YouTube and just giving it away.
I see. So you're a guy who wants to just, you found a niche, you found your jam. You're not trying to be out here pontificating that this is the absolute best thing you can do. You're like, hey, it's an opportunity. I'm here to share it with you, but I am not the right person to hold your hand through all of these processes. It seems relatively straightforward. Let's talk just about a few things, just so the person on the other side is, in case they're asking this, what should people be aware of? The risks of what have you learned along the journey? Like, what do they need to know about that they wouldn't know about, especially because they haven't watched that YouTube video halfway through that you did?
They don't have all the knowledge that I got. I've listened. I watched half a YouTube video. Pretty smart guy. I know what I'm talking about. No, so there's a ton of there's a ton of issues in land. There's just a lot. Um, Physically, you want to make sure it's not in a flood zone. You want to make sure it has access. Access is the biggest issue. There are entire states, Wyoming, Montana, there's hardly any streets. There's hardly any roads out there. So you can look at this huge field and it's full of 10 acre or let's say 40 acre properties. You could buy the one in the middle and never be able to get to it.
Wow. Okay.
So access is probably the most important thing I look for. As long as it has access, I'll buy almost anything.
How do you find out if it does or doesn't?
So you can either just go to the county map and see if there's a road. If there's a regular road there, it has access. If it has like a dirt trail through it, probably not legal access. It may have physical access, but not legal access. You can call the county, check with zoning. A lot of times zoning will know what's going on, or you have to get a survey done on the property. So and I don't want to pay for a survey if I'm not even buying this thing. So I'll just look at it on the county map. Hey, is there a road there or not? If there's no road, I'll give you I'll give you a very low amount of money for it. If there's just a dirt trail, right? If there's nothing at all, it's not my deal anymore. I used to buy them all the time. They would have easement access. And what an easement is it's not a physical thing. People think an easement, well, where's the easement? I don't see an easement. Well, that's because it's on a piece of paper.
It's on paper. Yeah. It's a right. It's just a right. It's esoteric. It's not physical. It's not physical.
To convince that guy who lives next to the road to allow you to get to your property. So there's a lot of issues there. If there's no road, I'm out. I used to be okay with it. And I would advise new people, if you still think you can get some return out of it, go for it. But at this point in the game, I just don't play like that anymore. It has to have a road.
And I also want to say for the listening audience, by the way, PJ is not here giving you advice to tell you to go find watch half of a YouTube video and go buy real estate. For the listening audience, just because we don't want to get caught up in saying, well, I heard this guy PJ on Darrell's show, and all of a sudden MindShift Media is getting sued, and all of a sudden we're all grown-ups here. Let's be clear. We're not saying this is how you should do it. You shouldn't follow PJ's advice. He is sharing his experience and how he does it. Just needed to get that in there for. Yeah, right. I mean, it's weird what people pick up, Anyway, back. Okay, so back to it. So road is a go. Dirt road, probably not a publicly approved road. And if it's no road, you're out. Gotcha.
It's just not a deal because you still got to sell the thing. I could get it for a good price. I still got to sell that thing. And I hate selling junk to other people.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not useful to you, it's not going to be useful probably to someone else unless they already own something around it, right?
Yeah, and some people, they're fine with it. I have talked to a lot of people that are like, they don't care. I'll drive over whatever I have to drive over to get there. I don't care. But there's so few and far between.
Do you pay cash for your properties or do you do terms on deals? You pay cash. Why do you do cash instead of terms? Out of curiosity.
Well, I could do terms. If it were a big enough deal, I would have to do terms. If we're talking $500,000-$600,000 or something like that, I would have to figure out some sort of terms deal. But right now, because of the snowball, right, buying at such a low level and building it and building it and building it, I've got enough cash to buy. Yeah, and I use all kinds of different things. I have a HELOC. I use home equity line of credit. I've used for to buy properties. So, there's all kinds of different things you can use. Gotcha.
Man, this is interesting, man. This is a conversation. I didn't actually know how this was going to go. I mean, in terms of I didn't know the depth of deals that you had done. I mean, I knew you were in the land business because we talked about that, but I would have had no idea that you've done 500 deals and the vast majority of them you didn't touch, you didn't see them. You're selling the properties on Facebook Marketplace of all. I mean, this is very interesting, but you've got a system and a rhythm to this. What is the do you hold any property?
Not really. If it's kind of, there's a couple I've had to hold. I accidentally bought wetlands in Alaska. And so I'm just going to keep that, I think. until the state wants it for something. Uh, so I'll hold that for a bit. Most of the time, no, I'll sell anything. I don't buy it. It's a land. I do like land. Don't get me wrong, but it's a widget.
It's a they say they're not making any more of it. So it's to you, it's like a product.
It's absolutely a product, and it's something to build towards something bigger. You know, I do. We're looking at subdividing, building subdivisions now. You know, much bigger things, but the little land deals, they roll into that big final product, right? And then once you're in there, you roll that into bigger final product, bigger products, right? So I don't typically keep land like to use myself. Every time I get something good though, I'm like, this is the one I'm going to keep. You know, like this is the one we're going to put a house on this corner, and we're going to go. You know, it's got a lake on it or a pond on it, so we're going to go. It never happens, man. I find somebody to buy that thing, and it's like, see ya. Yeah, and I want to say I do use brokers now too. I don't always flip on Facebook nowadays. The bigger dollar properties, I don't want to sell in terms because terms are great, but they take so long to recoup your investment. So you buy for, let's say, for simplicity, $10,000, sell for $200 a month. That takes a long time to get that 10 grand back, right? So you want to, some of them, the bigger properties, I'm buying for 40, 50. I want my money back at least. You know, I want to get a return fast. So I'll list those with brokers as well.
Understand. What kind of fees are you paying, if you don't mind sharing?
10% typically. Yeah, about 10.
All right. Okay. Very good. Very good. I love it, man. This is a good model. It actually does. I see why you're so energetic and fired up, man. You have no headaches. I do have a question. How do you assess uh, tax implications on the property, back taxes, things of that nature? Any liens, restrictions? What do you call those things? Yeah, liens, encumbrances, right? How do you address that? I mean, I'm assuming all of that's public at the courthouses in these counties, and you assess that before you go in.
Oh yeah, you can call the treasurer, typically treasurer, tax collector. Different states and counties call them something different, but you call them, they'll tell you exactly what's owed on that property because they want it back now. So yeah, they want their tax revenue back immediately. So I'll go in there once I buy, I will pay everything off, make sure it's clear, and if I go into it knowing the tax burden is worth more than the property's worth, I'm not buying it in the first place. You know.
Do you ever, yeah. Do you ever buy just the tax lien in some of these states where you buy just the tax lien in order to give them back their tax dollars, and that gets you the deed to the property? Are you ever doing deals with where you're just going into the treasurer and getting it from that that?
Yeah, I've done tax deed auctions. So tax deed auctions and tax lien auctions are two different things. A tax deed auction is great because you go in there and you pay the county for whatever the back taxes are, and they give you the property, right? They give you a treasurer's deed to the property, which is great. Tax lien, I've done that too, where I just go and I pay the taxes, and it puts a lien on the property. Um, you get maybe like a 10 to 12% return typically. It's good. Tax liens are good, and tax liens are great if you have no money. If you're like, dude, I got $50 to my name, man, go buy go buy a tax lien. You know, you can get those things online, and your return's great. You know, you get it done usually typically a year. You know, 10, 15, sometimes 30% returns on those things. Um, Tax deeds, they're great too because you go to the county, you say, hey, I'll pay the back taxes with a couple fees. They give you the property. Now you have to quiet the title if you want to do anything with it, or you can just quit claim deed it to the next guy, and they can worry about quieting the title. Lots of different options there. Yeah, absolutely. You pass, and you're not passing it. Let's say it's all dollars, right? So you're not getting a killing, quit claiming it to the next guy. He knows he's got to worry about the quieting the title. There may be some issues with that title. He's accepting all that, and he's paying a significantly lower amount than he would if he had to buy the property retail.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any tax benefits in your model? I'm very interested about that. And then what are the tax implications without getting into specific dollars? But how does someone think about taxes in and all of this profit taking?
Yeah, so you can't depreciate. There's no depreciation in land. Yep. Yeah, there's no depreciation. It doesn't dirt stays good. It doesn't depreciate at all, unfortunately. So that's a one big downside to land. With a house, you buy it, you can depreciate it, write that off. That's all great. With land, you cannot do that. So that's a downside. Um, as far as taxes go, it's nothing. The taxes with land are pretty much any other business. You can write off your office. There's nothing specific with land that I'm able to write off. Nothing specific, and unless I did something with the property. Mhm. And nothing different than any other business that exists out there. Just a transactional business.
So are you structured and again, I'm could be if I'm going too deep here, stop me and just say, Darrell, it's not none of your business. Um, how's your business structure? Are you an LLC? Are you a corporation? How does that work? S corp, got it. And when
Yes, we're S corp, and don't ask me too many questions because I don't know jack about that. My tax accountant, she does. She talks to me, dude. So I had a meeting with my bookkeepers, and then an hour later with my accountant last week, dude. Every time they would talk, I looked like a monkey with a math problem, man. I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, hey, can you slow down? I have no idea what they're talking about. So as far as taxes go, I'm not the guy, right? I have people in place that they know exactly what they're talking about. They keep me on the up and up. They're like, they handle all that.
got it. Okay, cool. So you're an S corporation. So in general, the gist of that is it's a flow through entity. Again, I'm not giving tax advice either, but I've got S corporation. So yeah, I know what that means. So very cool. PJ, man, super fascinating. What are you talking about on the podcast at Land Life Podcast?
Dude, anything. See, what I like, anything entrepreneurial. Sorry, I'll take that back. Not anything. Um, I like to talk. Let's go back a little bit. I was a guy 10 years ago, a little bit maybe before, but roughly there, who knew nothing about business, who knew nothing about entrepreneurship. I was like, you go to work, you pay your bills, uh, you don't get very much out of life. The government's screwing you. I didn't really know it existed, right? So my podcast is I want a new person to come on every episode and explain something that maybe a guy like that didn't know existed, right? New business opportunities, new great attitudes. Fitness people, fitness people are great too. Uh, just new ideas that most just average guys don't know exist. Because I was that guy, and I remember there was a lot of us out there. There were a lot of dudes that didn't know anything about the business world. I mean, I'm meeting guys that are like, I had no idea that it would even get to this point. 7, 8, 9-figure guys who built something and invented something, or they do a regular job that we didn't think was that important. They tweak it just a little bit, and now they're making, $10 million a year. So it's really just to show people out there what's possible.
I love it. I love it. I got to hook you up with my brother Eric, who's in your area. He's a fitness guy. I think we talked a little bit about him. I'm gonna have to shoot him a message and get you guys introduced via email. See if he might be a good fit for your podcast. But PJ, man, my goodness. So let me ask this question as we get ready to take this thing home. First of all, where can people find out more about you? I know you're not doing coaching or teaching or classes and things like that, but if they just want to check you out, where will people go find you?
Dude, I'm on every single social media thing there is, I think. So Facebook is PJ Reilly. It's PJREILLY. Instagram, it's PJ Reilly 77, I believe, for some weird reason. Or maybe it's PJ Reilly 22. Try both of them. You'll find a new friend if it's not. It's let's see, TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I'm an old man doing TikTok videos. YouTube. I got the Land Life channel on YouTube. LinkedIn. PJ Reilly again. Crazy enough. Gosh, what else is there? That's it, right? Those are all the big ones.
Gotcha. So, and then the Land Life podcast is available wherever you're listening to the MindShift podcast. And I'm going to encourage you to stay attached to this guy's energy because he really, I mean, this energy that we got today is even better than the energy that I thought I experienced when I was hanging out with him the first time. PJ, you are, first of all, congratulations on finding your new identity and purpose. And I think if we go back to the beginning, you know, I still laugh at the list. There's two dean's lists, and you were at the top. Yeah, it's all good.
Find out who I stole it from, but I stole the joke. So if someone's going to be like, this guy steals his material, I did. Whatever. That's right.
You had an identity. That identity came to an end when the sport came to an end. You had to figure things out. Wife, 3 daughters, and you're like, I got to find a way to lead through this next series of my life. And you just took action. I don't want to understate what that looked like. You watched a YouTube video after doing all sorts of things, direct sales, and I mean, insurance, I think you said something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then you take action after watching half of a YouTube video.
As many times I have, there is no more time. Yeah, no more time to waste screwing around.
I love it, man. Listen, last question I always like to ask, and that is if for some reason today was the last day you got to spend time on this planet, what would you want everyone to remember you for?
Yeah, so I would like them to remember this. More often than not, I did not waste my time here. So more often than not, I did not waste any time here. And I want to say the most important currency, the most important thing in the entire world is time. Okay. Time is more important than money. It's more important than cars, jets, anything you can think of. Time is it. When it's gone, it's gone. You talk to a guy dying of cancer, you realize how important time is. They are regretting things they hadn't been able to do, or things maybe they're a little afraid to do. They were terrified of doing something, jumping into a new business, trying out a new workout program. I didn't do that. And I can tell you right now, that's one thing that if I'm dying right now, I'll know I accomplished. I did not waste the time I was given on this earth to make it a better place and hopefully make other people's lives a better place that were around me.
There you have it, everybody. PJ Reilly, my goodness, what a energetic conversation, a tremendous energy. Again, we're on this show and it's called the MindShift Podcast for a reason. You said to me offline, you didn't say it during our talk here, but you're like, I don't have that crazy story of, living on the floor in an abandoned building or anything like that. But at the same time, your adversity was an identity crisis, and you could have done one of several things. And I'm super excited by listening to this story and how you turned that kind of pivot point into where you are today. And you probably would have never thought about it had you not had the openness to explore ideas and then take action. So, my friend, I'm super glad we're associated. Hope we stay connected. Thank you so much for being here on the MindShift podcast. And
thank you so much, Darrell. I appreciate it. That was so much fun. That's the second time now we've had, like, the best time I've been a guest was just now, and the best podcast I've had was when you were on.
It's amazing, man. It really, I'm not, folks listening, I'm not making this up. I interview a lot of people 3.5 years now. This guy and I hit it off in the first one, and I'm humbled that you said it was one of the best interviews. Of course, it's not bad when you only have 4 interviews. No, I'm just playing. But anyway.
3, the first 2 were my mom. She was nervous, Yeah, you're a nice guy. Yeah, you did good.
Seriously. All seriousness, thank you so much for your compliments. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your success journey and for sharing the details that you did today. Whether someone is going to get in that business or not is not the reason for the conversation. It was the thought process, the energy, just the way you meticulously thought about it and the way you didn't veer away from it. You're like, every time I thought I was going to hold something, I decided, but no, you have stayed in your lane. And here's what I like to say, and I'll finish this up and say our parting thoughts. A lot of people think success is doing 1,000 things, but you have routinely done the same thing over and over and over again. And I say that success is actually extremely boring because if you do it right, you find yourself essentially on a treadmill in a really good way. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Success, the real wealth is boring.
It's boring. Stop doing 8 million things. Do the one thing you're doing as good as you possibly can until it clicks, and then things get very interesting. Anyway, PJ, thanks again for being here. Listening audience, you have to have loved this show. If you did, wherever you're listening or watching, leave us a review, leave us a comment. If you're on YouTube, hit the follow, hit the subscribe button. wherever you're listening, give PJ a shout out. I know you had to pick up some value from this show. And listen, if you have not joined the growth driven entrepreneur community yet, what are you waiting for? Every month, I am giving you some part of my 32 years of entrepreneurship growth and marketing and sales experience, as well as inviting friends of mine into the community to teach you throughout the year. And it's 100% for free. So there's zero excuses. Head over to growthdrivenentrepreneur.com and we'll see you on our next live training and on our next podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Evans. PJ, my man, thank you for lighting up. Thank you for lighting up our show today. We appreciate you. Hey, it's Darrell Evans. Hit the subscribe button so you can become a part of the MindShift community. We'll help you shift your mind so you can shift your results.